Want to achieve network marketing success? Then you're in the right company. Hello, and welcome to Leave Nothing to Chance, hosted by networking marketing giant John Solleder. Learn everything you need to know about the network marketing space from somebody who's actually done it. Join us every week for front row seats as we feature some of the finest and most successful personalities in network marketing. Leave nothing to chance. Join us now.
Let's talk marketing a little bit. I mean, I've looked at your website, and you are obviously a marketing genius. I mean, you've got all sorts of different touch points that you're working with. So what I'm thinking to do this podcast is, why don't we just kind of shoot the shit on marketing? You know what I mean? In terms of modern marketing, because you obviously understand it a lot better than I do. Um,
Well, I think one thing I can tell you is I'm involved in a couple of projects that are AI based,
okay,
and the way that I actually reached out to you was through AI.
I saw
And
that.
I
Yeah.
got to tell you, the one thing that I can tell you is this: um, AI is changing everything, like
Yeah.
everything. It's beyond belief. What I'm not kidding you. It's mind boggling to me how people if you don't figure out how to use AI for your business today.
Yep.
I'm not kidding you. Your competition is going to gobble you up.
Well, it's funny that you say that because my daughter actually runs social media for a big church in LA. And I basically am starting to give her all of these projects because she understands them. But more than that, we're talking the other day, and I was talking to a friend of mine who's older than I'm 63, but I was talking to a buddy of mine in Modesto, and he was like, now you can take all your content, put it in these various languages with this AI converter that's $30 a month, which I may or may not bother to do, by the way. But more important than that, for my regular business, which is network marketing, I
Oh,
can,
you're a network marketer?
yeah, yeah. And so that's how I
Which
make a
one?
living. Immunotech, it's a Canadian company. It's
Haven't heard of it. What do they do?
we make,
Nutrition?
yeah, we believe it or not, we were a research project at McGill 50 years ago, and we
McGill.
did
What's McGill?
McGill University in Montreal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a university in Canada, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, Montreal. And long story short, this product winds up boosting the immune system by boosting cellular glutathione. So for 25 years, all we did was research on it at places like Pasteur Institute over in Paris and the German Cancer Institute, et cetera. So 28 years ago, when they launched as a network marketing company, they got in touch with me, and I was like, you want to market this stuff for us, and I did. But the point about AI is, now I find out, because now we're in like Germany, and we're in Italy, and we're in Portugal, and we've got a very heavy business in the Latin community. And I'm like, so I can take all of my TikTok stuff, all my Instagram stuff, advertising wise, say it in English, and with that converter, I can actually run advertising in markets that I otherwise would be closed to me through AI, through a $30 app. I'm like, that is for I don't know how old you are, Chris, but I'm 63. So for a guy my age,
I'm I'm
it,
pretty old too.
it's like
I'm
space
58.
age. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, so for guys like us that didn't grow up with cell phones in our hands, it's like this is like what we used to watch on the Twilight Zone or Star Trek when we were kids, But
Well,
here it is.
here's the funny thing, huh?
But here it is. I mean, it's reality.
Yeah. The funny thing is, oh wow, what are you drinking? Show me
Water.
your glass.
Yeah,
No, show me. Is that a mason jar?
it's what?
Is that a 32-ounce mason jar?
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's what I drink
Yeah,
out of.
I got a Yeah, I drink out of that same thing. I literally
Yeah,
got a 32-ounce mason jar. I
I
literally drink out of it.
I drink so much water all day because I'm on the phone. I go, yeah, from one call to another, to another, to another, whether it's Zoom or calls. And I'm like, I'm always dry. So, yeah, that's like, forget a glass. Glass is too small, It's especially if you're in the middle of a call, it's kind of hard to get up, You know,
Buddy, I saw it and I'm like, holy fuck, he's got a 32-ounce
yeah,
mason jar. I
yeah, oh
literally
yeah.
love this thing.
Well, and
And
I got a Kangen water machine. I bought one of those back in June, and they're $4,000.
a what?
A Kangen water.
What is it?
They call it a Kangen water machine. It's out of Japan. It's a medical
What does it
device
do?
in Japan. Gives you 9.5 alkaline water and help
Oh,
you
so
what you
it
drink.
alkalines your. Can I give you a tip about that?
Sure.
Alkaline water is water that you're drinking that's already got an alkaline balance. You know how you can balance your alkaline in your whole body for most of the day? Take a shot of apple cider vinegar in the morning, and that actually gives your body pH balance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It also kills all the bugs in your trachea.
I use apple cider vinegar. I use some lemon also, but this time of day I'm just drinking the pure water. But yeah, and I'm like a water freak. So what I'm thinking of, why don't I turn this thing on and let's start talking marketing. But I'm going to let you do 90% of the talking. I'm just going to introduce you and say, hey, Chris got in touch with me. He's a marketing. Obviously, I mean, you've got your own podcast, you've got your own company. I noticed some of the stuff you're doing. By the way, I love the thing with the hot sauce. That
Oh
was,
yeah,
that was
was
crazy.
fun. In
That was
fact,
crazy.
we do a lot of those. Those are super fun.
It looked like, yeah, it looked like you guys were just having fun, So, but let's talk
Yeah,
about
we had
marketing.
one guy. We had one guy literally go straight to the hottest one, and he started crying after that. He was like literally in tears, crying. It was hilarious.
I believe it. I've been there. Well, when we're done and I shut it off, stay on though, and I'll give you the date the show is going to be on and all the peripheral stuff. So
Awesome. That's great.
All right, let me.
Hey, by the way, do you like sports?
Yeah. Who doesn't like sports?
Okay, so
that's un-American not to like sports.
If you're interested, I'm throwing a couple of events at this year's Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
and yeah, and if you're interested, I've got some all access passes that sell for $1,000, and they get people in there. And if you want, I'll gladly give you 2 of them. And if you can make it to New Orleans, you'll get a chance to hang out and see some cool things.
Yeah, let me know about that. Let me check the date and all of that.
I just did. That's it. That's all I got for you.
Yeah,
I got 2 passes to events that I'm hosting at the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, I'll take them. I live in Dallas. I mean, it's an hour flight. It's a 4 hours.
It is an hour flight, but I will say the rooms in New Orleans are already going pretty pricey, and they'll probably get even more pricier. So finding accommodations is going to be the challenge. Flying there is probably going to be easy, but getting a room is going to be crazy.
Yeah, it always is. I mean, what I normally do for anything in New Orleans is I actually stay in Baton Rouge, even though it's a ways away. It's a little more tame too, and it's not a bad drive, and it'll be interesting because I this could be a historic Super Bowl at a lot of levels. But it looks the way KC's playing, unless Mahomes gets hurt, I think they might be able to do the three-peat, which nobody's ever done. So could be interesting.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think the referees agree with you.
Yeah, they get some weird calls, don't they? Well, it's the whole. It's the whole
it's
thing.
Almost choreographed. Yeah, some of the stuff is almost choreographed.
It's they're an interesting team. And I grew up in New Jersey, so I'm still a Giants fan. So I just suffer with the New York teams, unfortunately. But
let's have a moment of silence for every Giants fan.
Oh my God! Well, the only thing worse than that's living in Dallas for almost 30 years. I mean,
Jesus Christ, what the fuck did they sign Dak Prescott to that contract for? That was like crazy.
I think Jerry lost his mind in his old age. I'm amazed he did not call Bill Belichick Monday morning and say, "Get your ass on a plane, whatever you want, I'll sign it. Let's go and get rid of McCarthy." But and I hate McCarthy, the Cowboys. Yeah. So I love the game Sunday. I'm the only guy in Dallas Sunday going like, yeah, I'm loving this game. Everybody else turned it off by halftime. I was loving it personally because I hate the Cowboys.
Hey, by the way, is your number 972?
Yeah, I called you a little while ago. 259-0875.
Yeah, no worries. I'm going to save it so I have it.
What's the cost of the Super Bowl things, or their event tickets, or what are they?
Well, they sell for $1,000, but I'm giving you 2.
Oh, you're giving? Even better. Well, thank you. I'll text you my address. Yeah, we'll be there. And if we can't,
you can just grab them at will call. I'll give them to you when I'll physically hand them to you.
Cool. And
we won't. They print out like this. They're super high quality tickets. I don't know if you've ever seen these, but like these are all access passes that we did from the NBA Summer League. And if you look, when you change the light, it changes the image. It's a hologram.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So for the Super Bowl, we'll probably do. We might even do Patrick Mahomes. It's so weird. Football gets weird. Like in the last part of the season, like the last 6 games, injuries and weather. There's always something weird that just throws a monkey wrench. I'll be honest with you. I think the Lions are going to be there.
You know what's funny? I thought last year and this year I would agree with you. And the way they looked the other day, hell, they could have put 80 points up if they wanted to. If they went around to score Sunday, it could have been 80 points.
They lost Hutchinson in that game. That's a big loss for them. That's a huge loss.
I saw that. Yeah, he's a beast. He's a beast. He's a Michigan boy. Like one of my many hobbies is I throw shot put and discus still.
Did he go to Michigan or Michigan State? I thought he went to Michigan State.
No, he's a Michigan guy. He's
Oh,
Michigan.
okay.
Yeah, but the guy that I trained with in the shot and disc was a thrower at Michigan years ago. Loves the Lions, so I mean, he was freaking out on Sunday. Yeah, he was texting me during the game. He's like, "They're going to put up 80." I'm going, "Nah, they won't do that. They're not going to show up the Cowboys that bad because retribution down the road, you know." But
I'll be honest with you, you didn't need 80 to show them up. I mean, that game was over very quick. It was crazy.
well, them and the Saints beat them all over the field too. You know, so
Well,
I
The Saints are fucking scoring like crazy too. There's some teams. You know what's even crazier? I'm from Chicago originally. I've never seen the Bears score 30 points a game as easily as they have been lately. Like offense in the NFL is like a big deal right now.
Well, a lot of these defenses, yeah, they're not playing well. But to your point earlier, all of a sudden the second half of the season becomes a defensive coordinator league. You know, you look at the teams winning the Super Bowl. I mean, even Kansas City, as good as they are with Mahomes and Kelsey and those guys, that's a very sound team with Chris Jones and those guys on defense. Yeah. So,
by the way, is Jay Solleder, is that your email? Jay Solleder?
Yeah, at AOL.
Got it.
Yep. Yeah. Cool. All right, well, let
At
me turn this
AOL?
down. Yeah. Yeah,
I see it.
I got a bunch of them at Gmail and all that too, but I still use the AOL. Everybody laughs, and I'm like, you know what? As you know, when you've been in marketing a long time, there's people you don't talk to for years, but they still get your email address, and all of a sudden somebody pops up, and whether it's a network marketing thing or something else, it's like, you know, I never got rid of the thing because of that. Even though I pay like an exorbitant fee to AOL every year for like a shitty service, but
what do you have to pay AOL for their email? I thought it was like $9 a year or something.
No, they charge all kinds of stuff. We pay like $150 a year for what basically is a free email. But like I said, I keep it because I do get people, you know, from all over the world that have that email address from 10 years ago, and all of a sudden they pop up and hey, what are you doing? And so I've picked up business through it, so it's worth the little investment.
Yeah, it does crack me up that AOL to this day is still around. It's like pretty amazing.
It is. It definitely is. I don't even know how to make money, honestly, because I'm like their last customer. Me and the guy I work with in Modesto, he's still got an AOL account, and I do, and we laugh about it because everybody gives a shit about it. But oh well, they give me shit about a lot of stuff. Yeah. So well, cool. So let's get on here and let's see what we come up with.
Okay.
All right, we gotta. Well, there we go. We got our bleeps and blunders video already done, Chris, which is amazing.
I was going to say we're good to go. We interviewed the dogs. We showcased the dogs. We talked about everything under the sun that's sports related.
We talked about all the important stuff. Now we'll actually talk about marketing, right? Kind of the more mundane stuff. But hey, my guest today, folks, is Chris Champion, and Chris is out in Las Vegas, and he is a marketing machine. He is a podcaster. He does all sorts of different speaking. He's an expert in AI, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We were just talking here. We thought off camera. Turned out Zoom was recording us anyway, but we were talking about the Super Bowl, which he's going to be participating marketing wise in, and hopefully my wife and I are going to be attending as well in New Orleans here in the next few months. So Chris, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm awesome, man. I appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you.
We're both drinking up the 32-ounce.
Yeah, we have our good water. We have our good healthy water, and nothing like it. Became my favorite drink a number of years ago. But anyway, Chris, let's.
It's funny. I was just telling a friend of mine that it's so important to fill your body with water. It's everyone drinks all these other drinks, but water, if you get right down to it, that's the best thing to put in your body.
Exactly. Well, 70% of our body's water, so it's kind of makes sense, but let's just start at the top. How did you get into marketing? How when did you start? What did you do before? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I think at the end of the day, God gives us all a special gift, and some people turn into great doctors. Some people turn into great home builders. Some people turn into great dog groomers. And then some people just embrace sales. And I've always, for whatever reason, understood that sales wasn't me beating somebody and selling them something like, oh, I closed that deal, I got it. And that's, that's what a lot of salespeople do, is they get all hyped up. I think sales is about helping others. And when you've got something to sell, you should make your product so valuable that it's easy to find people that need it. And I started realizing that my goal in life, or my skill set in life that I've gotten, was creating great products, creating, taking a product and making it better than it was before, and literally creating something that didn't have to be sold, but had to be shared. People will buy whatever you've got in life as long as it actually solves a problem. And that's super important. You got to say to yourself, what problem am I solving for people?
And we were talking about the evolution, because we're about the same age, give or take a couple of years, and the evolution of marketing from when we were young guys, right? And we had a telephone plugged into the wall, which my kids find hard to believe, by the way, that we used to actually plug a telephone into the wall, compared to today, where everybody's got an iPhone. Everybody from elementary school kids up to senior citizens are walking around with an iPhone of one shape or form. And how have you seen that evolution, and how can people capitalize on all of this modern technology? And then, we'll eventually talk about AI here, where it is and where it's going and evolving too. But how have you seen evolution morph, and how people have used it to their advantages?
So your iPhone, which you just touched upon, is basically a mini computer these days. Like it's got to, if you think of what the iPhone does today versus what a old computer 10 years ago did, your iPhone is more powerful than what an old computer used to be. So, and your iPhone's pretty powerful from a computer processing standpoint. So if you think about it, technology is just getting better and faster. And all it does is it basically takes anything that you're doing and allows you to do it quicker, better, faster. And you talked about touching on AI. The only reason I'm talking to you is because my team built an AI tool that reaches out to podcasters based on what their podcast content is. So every night we have an AI tool. Think about this. This is actually mind-blowing. It blows my mind, at least. We have an AI tool. It's called LLM. It takes large language machine learning. And it listens every night to about 500,000 to 700,000 podcasts that are uploaded. Like every single night, it listens to all of those podcasts. And it takes the audio file and converts it into a transcribed digital file, which we put into an AWS server. AWS stands for Amazon Web Services. And we put that file into a database. And then now, once we have that sound converted into text, we can search and say, hey, I want to find podcasts that are talking about business, marketing, coaching, cooking, health, fitness, whatever category. And then we have an AI program that writes an email. Like the email I sent you was written by an AI, but it was very personal. If you notice, it actually referenced your podcast. It was personal to you. It talked about me. And then it created a conversation, which we're having today. If you think about that, I literally have a computer that's working for me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, doing things that I could never hire enough people to do. I couldn't hire a team of 4,000 people to transcribe 500,000 podcasts from audio to digital.
What's amazing about that too, I mean, we're talking about the ability of AI even to work in foreign languages and foreign markets, right? We were talking about that earlier. Just mind-boggling. I mean, this is stuff when you and I were young, we watched Star Trek, right? Or The Twilight Zone, or shows like that. And you were like, oh, that looks great, but that's never going to happen. And here we are. We're actually seeing it in our lifetime, and it's only going to continue to evolve. But that's really interesting. So let's stay there for a couple of minutes on AI. How does somebody, for example, in the network marketing field, because my listenership is about 80% network marketers and probably another 20% people in the financial service world, because I've been in network marketing forever, and I was in the financial service world for a time, and still dabble in it with business my wife owns. And so our listenership are people that Chris are in some cases side hustling it, trying to make that extra, 1,500, $2,000 a month that has been sucked out of the economy the last couple of years, right? But even in a good economy, people are always looking for that extra money for, whether it's, little Susie's piano lessons, or little Johnny's karate lessons, or the retirement fund, or the new car fund, or whatever. How do people use this? Because you made a great point there. You couldn't hire 4,000 people to do what AI does essentially for nothing or very little cost. How do they utilize this?
Okay, by the way, just so we're clear, it's not nothing, and I got to share something with you.
Okay.
We're racking up about $2,000 a night in data that we're storing on our servers. So while people think AI is basically cheap, the actual people to manage and create these AI programs are, I got developers that I'm paying $350,000 a year to, and then our AWS bill grows by about $10,000 a week.
Wow. Okay.
So when you start getting into large databases, you're literally eating up and gobbling and using a ton of resources, computer resources.
Right. But let's take it down to the minimum. Let's take it down to the person who is trying to build some sort of a business with new customers on a weekly basis, monthly basis, annual basis. How can they use it at a minimum?
So it's funny you mentioned that. If you look on my Instagram, there's a quote, there's a video that I quoted, and it was very it touches exactly upon what you're talking about right now. I'm actually looking for it. So here's Elon Musk, and I want you to hear this. So I don't know if you heard that.
Very, very low. Yeah. What did he say?
So Elon's talking about companies that will succeed in the future, meaning today, moving forward, that use AI will defeat companies that are not using AI because they're able to literally use. I always tell people, if you can get AI to do work for you that ultimately leads you to money, to revenue, you're basically paying a machine instead of a human being. And at the end of the day, I mean, if you know anything about network marketing, 80% of the people fail and 20% succeed. 20% of the people do 80% of the sales. Well, at the end of the day, that's how the world works. It's hard to find great people. But here you've got a machine. They don't complain. They don't do anything. They work 24 hours a day. And if you can get AI to work for you, primarily in marketing, I always tell people there are some amazing things that you can get AI to do that will ultimately lead you to a sale. And at the end of the day, that's what you want AI to do. You want AI to be your best salesperson that works for you 24 hours a day. And that's what people have to do. Now, if you're not using AI, somebody in your field is, and they're going to pass you up because you simply cannot compete with the power of an AI engine. An AI engine works 24/7 and it works at top efficiency. The things that our AI engine does is amazing. Like, it's beyond amazing.
Give me some examples. Okay, so in your business now, you're marketing. I mean, you're marketing at the Super Bowl. You're dealing with NCAA. You're dealing with all sorts of different big league stuff, in my opinion. Okay, I mean, anytime you're dealing with Division I athletics or the Super Bowl, I mean, there's no bigger sporting event, I think, in the world, maybe the Olympics. But
no, it actually is the biggest. Well, that actually, you would think Super Bowl is the biggest, but it's actually the World Cup and then Super Bowl.
Okay. And are you going to be at the World Cup next year in LA? Or I guess it's 2 years now.
So I'm probably going to be there for marketing reasons, but I hate to say this on the air. Soccer doesn't do it for me. I know people love soccer. I know that. And I'll be honest with you, I think soccer would be smart as hell if they got rid of that stupid offsides penalty, because to be honest with you, you literally see these guys running down the field, and then the referee says, oh, well, you got to let somebody catch up to you before you go into the offensive act. And I'm like, listen, motherfucker, we want to see scoring. We don't want to see like 1-0 game. And plus, another thing they'd be wise to do, make the goal a little bit bigger. That goalie's got an advantage, man. That's, you gotta like literally hit that ball perfectly to get it past the goalie.
Well, I'm laughing because I kind of have I certainly respect the athleticism of soccer players, but
oh my God, they're unbelievable. The average soccer player runs 11 miles at top speed.
Exactly. But having said that, the American perspective, football, basketball, we like scoring. We like, bottom line, we like scoring. I tell you what I do like though, just a segue to all that is a combination of what I think is our American football with some of the best elements of European soccer, and that's 7-man rugby. And that is a game, man. I mean, the guys hit.
Man, I got to tell you, rugby,
unbelievable.
Yeah, a buddy of mine played rugby, and I watched rugby at his house a couple of times. And that's a man's sport. Those guys. Yeah, that's a rock'em sock'em, especially like the New Zealand team, the All Blacks.
Yeah,
I just love that. I love watching them. And when they do the haka dance,
yeah.
Like if I did a sport, I'd be like, listen, I don't care what sport I play, NBA basketball, NFL. me and my team, we're doing a haka dance because
Yep.
trust me, you start off a game screaming and yelling at the opponent and then dancing around, they're going to be like, all right, these guys are going to give us a lot of shit.
Well, it's funny. I've been in that part of the world a couple of times, and yeah, because the Kiwis are combination of cultures, and like you take the Maori Indian culture and you mix that with the British culture that colonized down there years ago, and yeah, but you get some really big, really fast men. But I watch the women. The women are equally. They're not as big, but you see some 200-pound women who are running 4.640s, and you're like, I would just get out of her way. But anyway,
Listen, like I said, that rugby that's a real sport. That's a no mess around sport.
I love it. I can't watch enough of it. I love the sevens. I like the bigger one too, but I like the sevens. But let's come back to marketing. So you're marketing at these major events, big events. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. So let's talk about it from a macro level. So you're going into an event like the Super Bowl in February. What are you going to do with AI to promote your business? So I come as a spectator. I don't know you. I don't know your company. I don't know what you sell, but I say, I got to go see this Chris guy because I got to talk to him. How are you going to reach me with AI? What are the best techniques that your company's using to get the word out on Chris's company?
So it's actually funny you mentioned that. Last night, if you look on my Instagram page, there's a product. It's an AI product called Champion Game Time Stats. And do you do any sports betting by chance?
A little bit, just for fun, yeah.
You know, sports betting is like a big thing in the world, right?
Huge.
Yeah, it's humongous, especially football. Football, I think, takes up 80% of all sports betting. And imagine an AI computer, and you're saying, hey, send me all the game time stats that you can get me on the Detroit Lions Dallas Cowboys game. And I want to know everything. I want to know how good the quarterback plays on Sundays. I want to know the historical record between Dallas and the Lions. I want to know the current injury report. I want to know what the AI thinks the injury level is, how it'll affect, who's the backup, literally every stat you can think of. But I want that information, and I want it right away, and I want it to be given to me via text messaging, because you and I both know that text messaging is opened and read within 3 minutes, 97% of the time. It is the best way to get data to a human being that needs it in real time. So that's why it's called Game Time Stats. Well, what we're doing is we have over 100,000 sports bettors that are lined up for this app that'll ultimately allow them to get game time statistics. And the beauty is we're giving away some all access passes to this year's Super Bowl events that my team and I are hosting.
So somebody learns about your business via AI, total stranger. They show up, they do business. Could be from any part of the world, right? So AI as an advertising component of any business, whether it's sports betting, whether it's network marketing, whether it's life insurance, whether it's you're selling used cars, whatever it happens to be, has become an advertising mechanism. And I go back to something Bill Gates said a long time ago, maybe, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago. I remember he made a statement that you're either on the internet or you'll be out of business. That's probably, I want to, let's just say it's 30 years ago. I don't know exactly, give or take. Would you agree that AI, now that statement that Gates made, could be changed to, if you're not using AI, you'll be out of business?
Well, that's the statement that Elon Musk had in the video. I'm going to send you the link to it. That's what Elon said is in the next. And by the way, everyone thinks like AI is going to change the world in like 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It's changing the world right now. Like it's literally the things everyone thinks that like AI is going to be something big 3 years, 4 years from now. It's humongous right now. Like it's actually, I'm not kidding you. Like I'm doing things that if I hired 400 people to work for me and I paid them full-time money, I'm not kidding you. I'm doing things that those 400 people couldn't do for me on a daily basis with AI. Now, granted, we have electricity costs and storage costs and data costs and programming costs. But at the end of the day, if you're not figuring out a way, and I tell this to everybody, and by the way, network marketing has the best use case for AI, and I'll tell you why. You're in network marketing for what? A while now, right?
42 years, yeah.
Okay, so you just started.
Yeah, last week. Well, before my hair was gray.
What's hair? What do you call it? What is hair?
I mean, I'm just glad I still got some.
Listen, let me tell you something. I got friends of mine that take those last few strands and they comb them over, and I just walk up to them. I'm like, listen, just cut it all off.
Yeah,
If Mother Nature's gonna fuck with you, just beat her to the punch.
well, you know what's even goofier than that to me? Okay, and I can say this in our age group, okay, without well, I probably will offend somebody, including my own brother-in-law. I don't get the ponytail in older guys. Like you got no hair and you have a ponytail. What is that? I don't get that. I mean, I get it. To each his own. But it's like if it all falls out, I'm not getting a ponytail. I'm just going to shave it. But anyway, we
Listen, my
digress.
grandmother told
We
me.
digress.
My grandmother told me a long time ago, men come into this world just like they leave this world with no hair. So at the end of the day, some people are hanging on for dear life for that hair. If hair defines you and that makes your day, go for it. I got a friend of mine, he literally paid for 3,000 hair plugs to be plugged into his head. And he sat next to me and I'm like, buddy, you need to pay for the bigger package. You got like little holes and all kinds of stuff. That doesn't even look good. So he went and got like, over the course of time, he got like 30,000 plugs. And now he's got hair plugged into his head that they pulled from the back of his head. And I always thought to myself, I'm like, he spent $45,000 putting hair plugs in his head. And I'm like, for what? Who cares? That hair doesn't change your life. But in his world, it changes his life.
Well, they're not fooling anybody, I guess, and that's always been my logic. Like if it, and I've been lucky. My father was bald by the time it was in his 50s, but I think it's all the nutrition.
I don't think
honestly,
bald anytime soon.
But every time I get my hair cut, the barber's always like, yeah, like you got great hair. I'm like, well, that's great. I got something good.
Hey,
I guess,
by the way, let's talk about network marketing for a second, and I'll tell you why. Network marketing is literally the best use case for AI, and I'll tell you why. Most network marketers are husband and wife or individuals, single moms, whatever, that are basically, they're basically building a side hustle with their network marketing project or business. And at the end of the day, network marketers need AI to help them market their product, their personal brand. And one of the best ways that you can market your product or personal brand is to do a podcast, because it is a long format ad unit. See, for the next 30 minutes or for 30 minutes, you and I are going to chop it up, and you're going to take that and you're going to upload it to whatever podcast platform you choose, Apple, you name it, all of them. And after a while, those podcasts are going to sit there and they're going to talk for 30 minutes about interesting subject matter, in this case, AI. Well, guess what? Somebody's going to watch that podcast. They're going to hear my voice. They're going to listen to my words. And maybe a year from now or 2 years from now or 3 years from now, they're going to reach out to me and say, hey, you made a lot of sense. I loved your podcast. I want to find out more. My company's doing X. I'd like to grow, blah, blah, blah. Or they just might follow me on Instagram and see an event that I'm doing and buy a ticket or whatever. And at the end of the day, for network marketers to be able to use AI to get booked on podcasts is literally a way for them to change the trajectory of their business. So let's say, working by yourself, your business is going to grow like this a little bit over time. But all of a sudden you add 50 podcasts in 2025. Well, guess what? Those podcasts are telling your story and they're doing it in a long format way. Now your business grows at this projectile because you're not telling your story all day long by yourself. You've got a podcast that basically is telling your story every single day to somebody new that finds you interesting. And then that's really the ability where you can use AI to book yourself on podcasts and then literally use that podcast and that long format advertising unit to promote your product, your brand, or your business.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll just add to that, what I love about AI, to your point, right? That couple that you described as part-time, they got a 24/7, 365 tool, doesn't take off days for being sick, shows up for work, whether it wants to or not, right? They could be at their job, they could be at their kids' little league game, and they're still working and progressing and either recruiting or selling, their particular product. And with the podcast, you're absolutely right. These things have an afterlife. I started this during COVID, February 2020. February 2020 is when I started it because of COVID.
By the way, did you say COVID or do you mean during the scamdemic?
During the scamdemic.
That's what I thought.
Was
that the scamdemic where they convinced us something that was less powerful than the common cold needed to print trillions of dollars, and we needed to give those tax dollars to the
Of
drug
course.
companies.
Yeah, of course, of
Yeah.
course. The same drug companies.
Oh, was that the one where they gave people out an experimental drug that now is finding out is killing people?
That would have been the same one. Yeah, yeah. And they told us
Got it.
and the same people who were telling us they're going to fix the economy, okay, that screwed up the economy in the first place were those same people. But some people are forgetting that. But anyway, we won't be on till after the election, so who knows? Maybe we're going to be right or wrong. But yeah, the same what show of people. But having said that, I didn't really have a choice because, like everybody else, I had a new book coming out. I had no way to market it. I had no meetings to go to. I had no seminars to go to. And who knew how long the thing was or wasn't going to last. So I started a podcast. Well, the funny part is every day, Chris, when I go into my back office and I look at my numbers, I have new listeners. I don't know where these people are coming from. I don't even know how they heard about the show. All I know is it lives on when I'm off doing other stuff. I'm doing my network marketing business. I'm at the gym. I'm spending time with my wife or my kids, or I'm doing, I've got a financial service business we own also. I'm working in that. And at the end of the day, the thing lives on. And then I get new contacts like yourself that write to me and say, hey, you got a show, let's talk. Let's see if we can talk about some ideas to help your listeners. And here we are, so amazing, but talk about that a little bit more because, one of the reference points of the show, of course, is for the network marketer. How can they utilize that specifically to grow their business? What idea could you give them that perhaps they haven't thought of yet to use?
I mean, I personally think so. Network marketing is about two things. One, selling a product. And hopefully it's one that's really good for people. And two, building a team of people to help you sell that product, whatever that product or service is. And a guy that I know, Patrick Bet-David, he built a network marketing company around life insurance. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with Patrick Bet-David?
Yeah.
So what did he do? He helped build his business through podcasting. And then after he sold his business, he kept building his other businesses through podcasting. So the number one thing that I tell people all the time, you can spend money on Instagram ads, but the second that ad is seen and it's gone, nobody's going to see that ad ever again. Whatever you paid to have somebody see that ad, it's gone. It's never going to be seen again. But if you do one podcast, that podcast is going to live in infamy. It's going to live forever. And I call that evergreen advertising. What evergreen advertising means is you do one podcast, but that podcast is promoting your personal brand, your product for years to come. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Well, guess what? If you can use AI to book 3 podcasts a week, 3 things are going to happen for you. Number 1, you're going to build your personal brand. Number 2, if you're in network marketing, you're going to build your community, people that work with you, people that want to be a part of your team. And number 3, you're just going to sell more product because you're going to have more time to talk about your product. Typical podcast lasts about 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, if you can't tell somebody about all the benefits of your product, you probably suck and you should quit.
Yeah, agreed. Especially these days, because you got so many tools that'll do it for you. All you need to do is get them in front of somebody and go, watch this, listen to this, like it or don't like it. It's a lot simpler.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
the thing is, all you're looking for in life is yes and no. And I always tell people, people always try to sell somebody that's a no. If you try selling somebody that's a no and turning them into a yes, some people you might turn them into a yes, but they're gonna hate you for it because they're gonna feel like you twisted them into something. Whereas at the end of the day, all you're looking for is yeses and nos. And if the no is a no, God bless the no. The no's still a cool person, but it's the yes that ultimately moves the needle for your business. And those are the people you want to talk to. And the best way to talk to them is to get booked on a podcast. So if you've got an AI engine that for every single night is literally taking keywords about what you're looking to do and matching that against recent podcasts that were uploaded, and then sending that podcast an introduction, well, that's literally the best salesperson you'll ever hire. And the beauty is, as a individual or a couple that's doing this as a side business, your AI could literally be like a team of 4,000 salespeople getting you booked on podcasts so that you can grow your business, so you can grow your brand, so you can grow your team.
So let's talk about another technology that's popping up a lot. Can be a little controversial at times because of who currently owns it, but I'm seeing a lot of people, and I'm talking to a lot of people that are having some decent results with TikTok. Have you used that at all in your business?
I mean, TikTok's market capitalization is bigger than Facebook, Instagram, X. It's the largest social media platform in the world.
And
So
how would somebody use that?
Any way you slice it, it's doing great.
I mean, we've used it a little tiny bit, and we're in the process of really going, full bore into that with our network marketing business. I've got a friend down in San Antonio who's a medical doctor. He's actually a professor and a medical doctor down there. And first time in network marketing, he's 60 years old, made 150 grand last year. Believe it or not, part-time. Selling like believe it or not, on TikTok, just really selling product. Now, he's fully bilingual and he's a doctor and he's got his medical coat on, so he's got a tremendous amount of credibility that some of us may or may not have. But long story short, he made last year more money part-time than he did full-time teaching. And I'm looking at him, I'm looking at some others, not only in my own company, but in some other companies I'm talking to that are having some really good results. Love your thoughts on TikTok. And if you haven't done it, I've found so far it's been extremely user-friendly on my part. But if you want to talk about TikTok a little bit and any specificity that you could recommend for our listeners.
So TikTok's a great platform. It's a great tool. I personally am not into it for a variety of reasons, only because I'm busy doing other things. I believe podcasts are better than TikTok, in my opinion. When you do something on TikTok, they've got a great algorithm that if you go viral, you can literally get a lot of eyeballs. But the one thing about TikTok, for me personally, is you're dealing with people that have microscopically short attention spans. They're like mosquitoes. Mm-hmm. If you literally get their attention for 12 seconds, that's a lifetime for some of these people. And you can't really, in my opinion, benefit people by people that are only paying attention for 12 seconds. You need people that are paying attention to your content and getting what I call rich content. This is a rich conversation. But for you to put this on TikTok, you're going to have to chop it up into 30-second bits, right?
Yep.
Because people on TikTok, they're trained. They're almost like, remember the old jar of mosquitoes? If you put like a lid on a jar, the mosquitoes couldn't get out, or I don't know if it was mosquitoes or ants or whatever, but they literally couldn't get out of the jar.
Fireflies. I think it was fireflies, wasn't it?
Fireflies. Yeah, something like that. And then when you took the lid off, they still stayed in the jar because they were trained that way. Well, people that are on TikTok, they literally are training their mind to only pay attention for 12 seconds. In fact, one thing that I will say that TikTok does that's bad is kids today in school are learning less than they ever have because their attention span is so short that even in a half-hour class in school, they can't even pay attention in class. Yeah. They're literally zoning out after like 12, 13 seconds because your mind is just like your body. Every day you put food in your body. Well, at the end of every day, you're putting stuff into your mind. And if you're only training your mind to pay attention for 12 seconds at a crack, you can probably digest a lot of information that way, but you're probably not going to digest the information a lot, meaning you're not going to take a lot of that information and digest it and tear it apart. You're just going to get fragments or fractional amounts of that information.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I see that with my own kids who are now in their 20s that have grown up on this stuff. Their attention span versus somebody our age, and mine's not great, but I can pay attention for 15, 20 minutes if something's compelling, which to them is like a lifetime, because to your point, they're so trained. But let's go a little bit different direction. One of the things I find in all social medias is the people who are really successful, like yourself, have figured out how to become an authority figure in something, be it that they know how to market, hot sauce, like we were watching on your website earlier, or they figured out how to sell information, or they figured out something. They figured out something where they become the authority figure. How can people become an authority figure in something perhaps that they have no knowledge in, but they gain the knowledge, and then to the marketplace they can present themselves as an authority figure, not maybe the authority figure, but a authority figure in that particular subject, whatever that subject happens to be.
So let's bring it home and put it right in your lap. You're in network marketing. Tell me a little bit about the product.
Our product was developed at McGill University in Montreal, Canada, beginning in 1975, a collaboration between two professors at McGill. 1978, the first research paper on that product was produced. Since then, we've had 80 papers produced like that.
So what does the product do? What's the benefit of the product?
Boost cellular glutathione, which is essentially
okay. So, let me share one thing with you. I've never heard that word before, cellular glutathione. That literally can, that right there, that little bit of research you have about your product can make you an expert on the benefits of, what's it called again? Glutathione?
Glutathione, yep.
Yeah. You could literally become an expert on glutathione, talk on podcasts regarding glutathione and the benefits of glutathione and what it does for your body. And people would literally consider that almost like a short biology class where they learn about something that they never heard of before in their entire life. And it doesn't mean you have to like become an expert on these broad subjects. I always tell people, find a niche, find something that makes you an expert on just this. And if that's your expertise, then share that expertise, especially on podcasts, so that people see your face over and over and over and over again. They're like, oh yeah, that guy taught me about glutathione, and I've been trying that stuff, and it's done this, this, and this for me.
Exactly. No, that's great advice. That's great advice because we've got listeners that obviously in my own company, but I've got listeners in lots of different network marketing companies that have something in their product that's a little bit unique, whether it's nitric oxide, whether it's NADs become a big deal. There's other things certainly. Yeah, and that's good advice for network marketers. Become that authority figure in what it is that your product does. Versus, oh, I'm in this company. Well, there's 14,000 other people selling the same product, right? Same thing in the financial service field. The people who excel, like the guy you were talking about earlier, the people who excel, they figured out a way to brand themselves. Even in the old days, Ben Feldman, who was the top agent at New York Life way back. He had a thing he used to do, right? Where he'd go to he lived up in Ohio. He went to the Mint, I think in Cleveland, and he would buy the discarded bills and he would cut them in little pieces because I guess you had to, or maybe the Mint did that themselves. I think, I'm assuming they didn't hand you a bag of cash, right? They hand you a bunch of, shredded cash, and he'd put it in the front of a loose leaf binder, and he'd open this up and he'd say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, here's how insurance works. When he dies, you get $1 million. When you die, when she dies, you get $1 million. Whoever goes first, here it is shredded up. Okay. And very, very visual. Now, today, of course, we have all of these tools that can do that, but you're still in network marketing or in insurance or in automobile sales. You're selling the same product the guy down the street is, essentially. So making yourself that authority figure is where you kind of, cut the rubber from the road, so to speak, So
yeah, not only that, but like you just touched upon life insurance. There's guys that are teaching people how to use life insurance to borrow against their life insurance, invest in real estate through their life insurance, create living trusts around their life insurance. So when you become an expert on life insurance, eventually, if you get on enough podcasts and talk about that, they're like, hey, that's the guy that knows everything about how to use life insurance, from everything from buying real estate to building a living trust. And after a while, you don't have to be this genius like Elon Musk on a variety of subjects. You don't have to send rockets into space and build robots. You have to just be an expert on something that you feel you know everything about. And it could be life insurance. It could be glutathione. It could be podcasts. It could be AI. It could be a variety of things. But as long as you literally dive into one subject matter and own that vertical, I always tell people, own a vertical. Find something you love, own that vertical. Eventually, people will come to you and say, wow, that guy's a fucking smart guy. And when it comes to this, he really knows what he's talking about.
Well,
or she.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. It's like I have a friend who's, believe it or not, is a big bench presser. He's one of the first people in history ever bench pressed 1,000 pounds. And he developed a company to make equipment for people to train. So last Friday, I'm having lunch, and a woman flies in from Belfast, Northern Ireland, who's the number one bench press female in the world. Bench pressed over 700 pounds. And these numbers, by the way, these are double bench shirts. I mean, but so we're sitting there having lunch, right? And I'm into working out, but I'm like, it's not my whole life. They get into this conversation, Chris, that was amazing for over an hour. And fortunately, I had this guy's son to talk to about other stuff. We're talking football and baseball playoffs are going on and other, elections going on. So, we're going, one subject to the next. And for an hour, I watched these two people who were totally into this one subject go back and forth. And it was like a master class on bench pressing, that if you were an 8th grade high school football player, you listened to it, you could have listened to these two individuals who have an expertise in that area. and learn. And I don't care what the area is. I mean, it just happened to be bench pressing in that case, right? It could have been glutathione, it could have been insurance, it could have been podcasting, it could have been whatever. Is to take that and become that authority figure in that particular subject. I love that. So, a couple other thoughts. I'd love your thoughts on. We've talked about AI. Why should people in this economy? Here we are in late 2024, about to go into 2025 in the next little while. Why should people start their own business as opposed to just, working for somebody else? Why would you encourage people to go the entrepreneurial route and figure out some of the stuff that you've certainly figured out and others have figured out?
Well, I think it's the greatest risk in America today to not be an entrepreneur, to not have your own business. I think it's literally the greatest risk. I know so many people that work for a W-2 paycheck, and they literally are building no value. See, when you run a business, when you run your own business, you're building something of value. And I actually, as a business owner, there's a lot of other benefits. But one day, if you build a business, you could sell that business. Whereas if you work as a W-2 employee, the best you're going to get is maybe some stock options, and those stock options will give you a fraction of that business. But if you can build something that has value, for example, I always tell people, when you buy real estate, that's the best way to fucking build value, because you can literally sell that house one day and that house is going to appreciate in value. Well, when you work for somebody, you get paid for your time. You don't get paid anything beyond just your time. Now, you might get some stock options with that paycheck, but getting paid for your time is the greatest risk in America today, because you can't get paid enough for your time while you're sleeping. Whereas when you build a business, it actually has the ability to grow in value while you're sleeping. And that's the reason why I've embraced AI so well, is I've come to the reality that I would rather hire an AI program or AI bots to work for me 24/7. Because just like, I don't know, did you see the display the other night that Elon Musk did, where he showcased these new robots? They're called Optimus.
Unbelievable.
Well, that's Elon. Elon was showcasing his robots, but at the same time, in China, they've got robots that are probably as nice, if not nicer. And there's other companies that are in that space doing robots too. So if you haven't figured it out, if you work for Amazon, that's a part-time job. No matter even if it's full-time, that's a part-time job, because guess what? They're figuring out, how can I replace this employee who gives me a headache every now and then with a robot who's never going to give me a headache. And by the way, when Elon said, hey, these robots are going to cost about 30 grand, I got news for you. I started thinking to myself, for 30 grand, I got somebody that's going to clean the house, walk my dogs, make my breakfast, paint the walls if I need them to paint the walls. I started thinking to myself, around the house, and at the end of the day, people are going to start realizing that if you've got a job, if that's your life is making money by working for someone else, and you're not building something that has value, that's the greatest risk in America. You are eventually going to find out that is the worst idea in the world. Taking a job is the worst idea in the world. Now, granted, kids go to college, they spend all this money, they come out of college in debt for $150,000, and they're being trained to get a job. That's what college teaches you. Get a job. It's the worst idea in the world. It's the greatest risk in the world. If you get a job, you're only a temporary employee until they can replace you with something that's better and cheaper.
Well, and it brings up another point. And what you just said there, I hope people really listen, okay? Because a lot of wisdom in that. And if you have a job, it's why you need to get serious about your business, whether it's network marketing or any of the other endeavors that are out there. It's why you need to get busy, because everything will be replaced with what's happening with AI in one shape or form. I mean, you're already seeing it. You go in Walmart, you can't find an employee in Walmart. You go to check out at Walmart, it's all electronic, right? I mean, they've got the odd person roaming around the store, but there was a time you went to Walmart and you're tripping over people with blue vests on. Not the case anymore.
Yep.
Target, the same. Yeah. Some of our local food stores here in Dallas, the same thing. You're probably seeing the same in Vegas, right? Where you can't find an employee to answer a question where this or that happens to be. Now that's a downside. On the other hand, if it keeps prices down for the consumer, well, that's the upside. So, don't let yourself be replaced because you fall behind the innovation curve. Be ahead of it. So, Chris, I'd love a couple of other thoughts. So, how can you help some of our listeners? How can your company benefit them in terms of their desire to learn more and gain more? What are some of the things that your company offers?
So literally about 3 years ago, there were about 200,000 podcasts out there. Today, there's 3.875 million podcasts out there. If people haven't figured it out, podcasting, even if you're doing it via Zoom, out of your home in Dallas or whatever, that is the best way to A, develop your personal brand and let people know who you are. And then B, it is the best way for people to follow you, for people to learn from you. And if people learn from you, they will buy from you. And you can build a business around a podcast. I know friends of mine that have podcasts that literally they sell ad space on their podcast. They do endorsements. They do product showcases, the whole 9 yards. Well, guess what? The only way that you do that is if you get started. You started in what, 2020 or 2022, you said?
Yeah, February 2020.
Over the course of 4 years, I guarantee you 3 things have happened. Number one, you've built a personal brand for your podcast. People know you're the guy that does this podcast. Number two, you've made great connections where you've literally had a chance to take a deep dive and get to know somebody. And number three, I guarantee you some form of business has come from doing these podcasts. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it. It would be a waste of your time.
Absolutely. No, and absolutely. Not only have I recruited distributors, but I've done a couple of consulting jobs as a result of interviewing people who've come back and said, hey, my company's trying to do this or that. Could you give us, a few hours of your time? And we can figure out whatever, and they pay me whatever. And, I've picked up stuff that way. Plus, we've sold books. We've sold a lot of books as a result. But more than that, it's gotten me in contact with great people like yourself and people who've reached out to me that were total strangers that become friends. Where it's like, wow, I've got this marketing arsenal of people literally around the world, because we've interviewed people on every continent in the world so far, except Africa. We're still waiting for our first person from Africa to contact us. But it's been amazing. And the web that you develop of contact capital is invaluable, So,
well, I always tell people you're one good connection away from leveling up your business or your life. And at the end of the day, it's all about making deep, high value connections in life. People always go to like these networking events. They want to come home with a stack of business cards. And I think that's the utter waste of time. I always tell people, if you go to an event and you make one good connection, that'll help you level up your business or your life. That's really all you're looking for, is one good connection. That's really all you need, is one good connection. Even every day, if you say to yourself, all I want to do today is make one good, high value connection, that one good connection will help you level up your business and your life. I started a text community where literally I introduced people to each other via text messaging. And for $197 a month, I've got over 800 people making high value connections with somebody new almost every single day via text messaging.
Interesting.
I mean, think about this for a second. If you got a text message introducing you to somebody new every couple of days, and you got a chance to meet them because you're both part of a text messaging, a connections community, well, guess what? You know how hard it is to get introduced to people, and here you're getting it done via text message, where you can right away text message them and get to know them and maybe book them on a podcast, or maybe you guys have something in common, or maybe nothing. Maybe you just like each other.
Exactly. Become a professional.
That's a tool that I think everybody in network marketing should have, which is join a way where you can get introduced to other people. The amount of money you save getting introduced to other people by paying cash for that is a mind-boggling. Like, people are like, oh, how can I get introduced to this guy? I'm going to go join LinkedIn and bother him with some stupid bullshit message on the platform that he'll never read or get annoyed from. Whereas if you get introduced to somebody, that's the greatest connection you'll ever get, because you're being introduced by a third party who's saying, hey guys, I know you both. I want you both to know each other.
It's funny, because when you think about a referral, somebody refers somebody to you, you have instantaneous credibility, versus, to your point, you reach out to somebody, I don't care how much money you're making in your network marketing business, you reach out to a stranger, they don't know you and they don't believe you. You know what I mean? Why should they believe you? They don't know you, right? But if you're a good customer who's had great results on your product, all of a sudden says, call Dr. Smith because he's seen what's happened to my health. And you call Dr. Smith and go, oh, you're the guy with that glutathione product. tell me more, versus who are you, what are you, whatever. And that, whatever the circumstances, whatever you're selling at, is very, very strong. How many businesses do you run within that one business? I got to ask, it seems like you have a lot of
So,
different stuff going on.
so I've invested in over 120 businesses over the last 7, 8 years of my life. 80% have failed, 20% are succeeding, and some have exited already. At the end of the day, I always tell people, don't be afraid to start a business. Don't be afraid to invest in a business. Don't be afraid to join a couple of friends and say, hey, we're going to do this business venture together. It's almost like people have been taught to be afraid of taking that leap and starting a business, or taking that money that they've set aside. Money in the bank doesn't work for you. Money into a business or a piece of real estate, it works for you. It's actually going to work. And not all businesses are going to succeed, but guess what? Life, God didn't promise you a life full of success. He promised you a life full of challenges. And it's how you face those challenges that determines the quality of your life, your character. So at the end of the day, I always tell people, I would rather take all my money out of the bank and put it into businesses. And I don't care if 80% fail, it's the 20% that succeed are the ones I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's interesting you say. I've heard Mark Cuban say something similar. All the stuff between Shark Tank and all the other private equity stuff that he does. It's like, hey, majority of these things do not work, but it's the ones that do that you come back and go, well, we did $1 billion last year on this idea or that idea. Well, if I didn't do the 5 that didn't work, I would have found the 6th one that did. And whether it's yourself or Mark or any of the other great entrepreneurs in our world that do that, it's interesting.
Well, if you look at the 10 richest people in the world, I want to say it's like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg. None of them are rich because somebody gave them a really big salary. All of them are rich because they own stock in a business that they took a chance on. Mark Zuckerberg took a chance on building a business in his dorm room at Harvard. Elon Musk took a bunch of chances. He did Tesla, he did SpaceX, he does X, which used to be Twitter. He's taking chances on a variety of businesses because he's willing to take his money and bet on himself versus not take a chance at all, to be afraid of taking that leap of faith. I got a book coming out in time for the holidays called Faith Matters. And everyone thinks that it's about faith in God, which it is partially about that. But it also deeply goes into having faith in yourself. When you're born, God whispers in everybody's ear, greatness is your destiny, my child. He literally whispers that in our ear. And every single day, God is our biggest cheerleader. He believes that we're capable of so much more than we believe ourselves. I meet so many people that literally need to have more faith in themselves, and they doubt themselves. I constantly hear people tell me what they cannot do versus people telling me that there's nothing they can't do. And it's mind-boggling to me how little faith people have these days in themselves. And that's why I tell people faith matters. Faith matters every single day. You have to have faith in yourself that you have unbelievable opportunities, unbelievable potential. And God gave you one day at a time to be great. God wants you to be great. God's your biggest cheerleader. But if God's your biggest cheerleader, you got to be your biggest cheerleader. You got to literally be cheering harder for yourself than God is for you. And the sad fact is, we live in a world where people are not having that same faith in themselves. They just don't.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we've got to get back to, not only here in America, but we've got international listeners as well. That's what we've all got to get to, is that point where not only we believe in ourselves, but we have the faith to go forward, because we're being told constantly by big government that we'll take care of you. Well, let me tell you something from people who come from countries like that.
For the people in North Carolina.
Yeah, exactly. Or Venezuela, okay, or Iran, or other places in the world where the government was going to take care of them. They took care of them all right. Ask the people from those countries how they were taken care of, okay? That's why entrepreneurship is so important. Chris, when I started my career as an entrepreneur in 1983, Ronald Reagan was the commencement speaker at my college commencement.
Oh, wow.
And
that's awesome.
And at the time, believe it or not, I was an avowed socialist. I didn't even want to go, okay? And I told my parents, my father was a union guy, and my father said, you know what? We don't like the guy, but we're going to go, and you need to go because we respect the office, which is something we do need to get back to in our own country, the respect for the office. But at the end of the day, Reagan started to speak, and I'm not exaggerating, by the end of his first paragraph, when he talked about how capitalism had freed the people in East Germany, I went from the back of my chair to the front of my chair because I never heard that story spoken that way before. And all of a sudden I started understanding. I started my own little business with the company that I started my career with about a month before. And Reagan spoke those words, and they were so powerful that I said, as an entrepreneur, I can not only free me from the bondage of being broke all the time and having to live off of somebody else's
I
expectations.
think somebody's gonna have to free your dog. Your dog seems like he's a little upset at the bottom.
He's well, I know there's nobody outside, but yeah,
Are you under attack from an Amazon truck driver? Because that's usually what happens at my place. I got 3 dogs.
You know, we're not. I'm in the office in the front of my house, and I'm not sure why he's. That's Darla, that's Darla dog. That's a dog we adopted that we think, honestly, I hate to say this, was abused, because she just barks sometimes indiscriminately for no reason.
Is she the big one, or is that the little one?
Yeah, well, she's one of the 2 big ones. She's a crazy dog. But anyway, that just getting back to that point.
Listen, I guarantee you, she loves your home, and she's sitting there saying every day, I got to guard these guys with my life because they take great care of me. They feed me. They love me. This is my house. I am going to protect them with my life.
That dog, when I watch tonight, I'll be watching my beloved New York Yankees playing in the playoffs. That dog will be sitting.
Who they playing, by the way? They're playing Cleveland, right?
Cleveland tonight, yeah.
What is this, the first game tonight or second?
No, game 2. Game 2's tonight. And but anyway, Yankees. Hey, it could be by the time we air, there could have been a Subway Series. Could be Mets and Yankees again, which would be great. But
that's crazy.
But she sits next to me the whole night, and then when I go to bed, she sleeps next to me the whole night. I mean, a very, very loyal dog. But anyway, let me just get back to my point, because I'd love your thoughts on this as we start to wrap up. Is Reagan spoke those words about entrepreneurship and how it freed people. And it's something sometimes that in America, we're not getting that word out to people, that being in business for yourself, not only do you create a tax base for people you employ, but if you're in something like network marketing, where you can share that gift of your business with other people, be it part-time or full-time, and they can develop based on their own time schedule, skill sets, desires, etc., that you can change people's lives. And that's something that you're certainly doing in the business that you're in. But I'd love your thoughts on that, on why entrepreneurship now is so key not for guys our age necessarily. Certainly we are participating, and others our age group can, but those young guys, those 20-year-olds, those 20-somethings that are coming up, that have been told I'm going to text the wife here, see if she can put the dog outside, but been told some misnomer that business is somehow not the way to go. I'd love your thoughts on why.
Well, I think it's the government's plan to turn people into slaves. Like the government, deep government people want 300 million Americans to be slaves to a corporation. That's their dream come true. And the college system teaches people how to be great employees. They teach them how to be very loyal to the corporation, very good employees. And they don't teach them how to question thought anymore. In fact, colleges don't even teach you how to think anymore. They teach you how to memorize stuff. They give you a test and they see how much you memorize, but they don't teach people how to do critical thinking. And that's the thing we're starting to lose, is we're starting to lose guys that are critical thinkers. I'll give you a great example. I go back to him a lot because he's probably the greatest. He's not probably, he is the greatest entrepreneur of our era, probably of our lifetime. And I'm going to use Elon Musk. You know how many people told him that Tesla was going to fail? Bill Gates, shout out to the most evil man in America. Bill Gates literally bet millions of his dollars. Like, I think it was like some ridiculous amount of money. Let's say $500 million. Could be less, could be more, whatever. He bet $500 million and he shorted Tesla's stock and said Tesla's going to go down. And he literally bet against Elon Musk. And he literally said, this guy's going to fail. This guy's going to fail on an epic level. He's involved in too many things. He's trying to do rockets. He's trying to do electric cars. He's trying to do this. He's going to fail. He literally put all this money on and said, I'm going to bet on your failure. And here's a guy named Elon Musk who said to himself, all right, motherfucker, now I'm not only going to succeed, I'm going to do things that were thought not humanly possible. So guess what he does? He builds Tesla into the empire that it is today. It's probably going to grow 10 times from where it is today just because of the robot division. But not only that, not only does he build this monster American-made car company, the largest American-made car company in the world. And our country, our government doesn't even promote him left and right. They should make him the poster child for every newborn American child and say, listen, this is who you want to become when you grow up. And literally, here's a guy that literally took on some of the biggest challenges. He's literally saying, I'm not only going to build a rocket company, I'm going to build a rocket company that's going to go to Mars. And I'm going to put people on Mars. We're going to have like people living on Mars. He doesn't think big. He thinks enormous. And that's the thing. We live in a time where people have stopped thinking enormously. People are scared to think enormously. Oh my God, you think like that, you might fail. And if you fail, your life is ruined. Hey, listen, I've had failures in my life and nothing was ruined. I learned lessons. Failure is the greatest teacher you'll ever have in life. Failure will teach you more than any 4-year university will ever teach you. And that's what people need to start doing is we need America to be great again at growing entrepreneurs, not growing employees. We've got a country where the entire system is designed to grow great employees out of our children. Our children are being born into a system that wants to make them great employees. If I ever had a kid, didn't have a kid, I got 3 dogs instead. But if I ever had a kid, I would never want my kid to be a great employee. I would want my kid to be a great builder of something great. I'd literally put a picture of Elon Musk in front of my kid's cradle every night and say, listen, that's the guy you want to be like. That's the guy. And people have stopped raising their kids to be great entrepreneurs. It's not like they ever raised them to be that, but the greatest entrepreneurs of our lifetime were brought out of the hardships that this country had to go through back in the day. And some of the greatest entrepreneurs came out of those hardships because when times got tough, the tough got going. Well, these days, when times get tough, somebody puts their arm around them or gives them some medication. Here, take this pill. It'll help you get through the tough times. No, motherfucker, you got to get tougher. You got to roll up your sleeves. You got to get shit done. And that's why I wrote this book called Faith Matters, because I think people need to have faith in themselves more now today than ever before, because the future is not bright for the average employee. If you're an employee of a company, your days are marked. You might as well get out a calendar and figure out which day are they going to fire me and replace me with a robot. And trust me, whatever day you think it is, it's faster. It's coming sooner than that day.
I've got 3 people, including a brother-in-law who's an engineer in their 60s, all college educated, all good people, all honorable people, all people that good, clean resumes, not criminals, nothing, just good people. But they're all in their 60s. One's a graphic artist, one's an engineer, the third is a real estate appraiser at a high level. And all 3 of them in their 60s cannot find a job because they all traditionally have had that job mentality and all done well. At one time in their lives, all had good 401ks and everything else. And they're struggling now in this new economy because people are not employing them, okay? And because they don't want to start their own businesses now because they're given the excuse that they're too old or too whatever. And given the choice, when I look at small business, which I've been in my whole life and so many other people have been, and to your point, you don't have a choice. America is built on a lot of small businesses, along the line. So what is Chris's big, hairy, audacious goal going forward? What are you going to be 5 years from now? We have the same conversation. God willing, we're both here. 5 years from now, what's Chris going to have done?
I think I will have empowered more people to use AI to help grow their business than ever before. Because my thing is, I'm actually petrified for some of the people I meet every day. I literally, a friend of mine, he's probably one of the greatest carpenters I've ever met in my life. The guy can build anything. He's unbelievable. But he's constantly getting jobs taken away from him because there's AI solutions out there that are even in the carpentry business that are doing phenomenal work. And I literally fear that people don't understand what the future looks like in as little as even a year from now. Everyone says, 3, 4, or 5 years from now, that's a big problem. Nobody. It's a problem for you right now. And you've got to embrace AI. You've got to embrace technology and make it work for you, or it will destroy your life. We're going to see the largest amount of homeless people, and we're already seeing in the last 4 years, shout out to the incredible Democrat Party that's destroying our country. We've already seen homelessness grow 60% all over the United States. People that were middle class are losing their jobs, and they're now becoming homeless. And I believe that if people don't get AI, people don't get technology, making them money, working for them while they sleep, they are going to be crushed by somebody else that is.
Incredible.
And when I say crushed, I mean financially crushed.
Incredible. Well, and you know what? It's a warning, folks. You heard it here, maybe first, maybe you've heard it elsewhere, but you got to get moving. And inspirational, what Chris just said there is there's still time, but you don't have the luxury of time. Time is not on our side. These tools are moving that quickly that they will replace you if you think you've got.
Let me give you an example
to watch.
Let me give you one last example. Amazon has a big factory facility here in Vegas. They just let go of 17,000 employees out of thin air. They didn't see it coming. The employees didn't see it coming. And they replaced them with robots. The people in the parking lot were crying. Now, this was only an $18 to $20 an hour job. They were in tears because that job helped them pay their rent, get their groceries, raise their children, blah, blah, blah. They just got replaced, 17,000 of them, by robots. You go inside that factory, you see all these little robots moving shit around, packing up stuff, putting stuff away. That's not happening a year from now. That happened this last 2 weeks.
You know, at a lesser level, employee-wise, there's a restaurant I eat at here in Dallas, and we get served by a robot. Amazing.
Now that's interesting. Like,
Yeah.
What does it do? It just comes like it's a little rolling robot?
Yeah, it's a place. It's the old automat system. Believe it or not, a sushi place with an automat system where the food.
Oh, it's the sushi, the choo-choo train sushi.
Yeah, so you take your food as it comes through the line, but the robot comes and takes your drink order, comes back with the drinks on the robot. Okay, now there are a couple of employees or somebody to take your money at the end and all that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, the robot does all of the food service to you, including cleaning the plate, taking the plates and bringing them wherever they're cleaned.
Now the crazy thing is, wait till that robot is actually like a human being. Like, wait till you actually. So I had a chance to FaceTime a friend of mine that went to the Tesla event, and he was literally talking to an Optimus robot, and it was actually a normal conversation. He was having a normal conversation with a robot, and the robot was getting him drinks and talking to him about life. Hey, how's the event going for you? The robot's asking you, hey, how's the event going for you? Not so bad. How's it going for you? Well, I'm getting a chance to meet a lot of nice people. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's like literally a human conversation.
Yeah. I've had a few on the internet with robots of people who were pretending that they were human beings on Facebook till I finally figured out when I got the same message about 20 times, I finally figured out this is not a real human being. And now what they're doing is they're taking celebrities, right? So a celebrity writes to you, and then I finally figured out it's not a celebrity I'm talking to, it's a freaking robot, but it's amazing. Chris,
well, here's the crazy thing. I've got an AI tool. I'll leave you with this. I got an AI tool right now that has 600 Instagram profiles, and all it does is go and like and comment on other people's profiles to help boost their algorithm and reach and their follower counts. And these aren't even real people. It's just AI profiles, and they literally all day long just do that. And they look like human beings. They're like models, both boy and girl. Yep. And it's the craziest shit in the world.
Incredible. So Chris, if people want to reach out to you, get the book, etc., where can they reach you?
Championexperiences.com. We start pre-sales in a couple of weeks. By the way, if you want, I'll do something for your audience. I'll give away a month, $995 a month worth of podcast booking. It's called Champion Introductions, where we literally use AI to introduce people to other podcasts so that they can get on those podcasts and tell their story.
Great. Well, thank you for doing that. Well, this has been
literally like getting an employee for a month, a digital employee, an AI employee.
This has been a lot of fun. We got to have you back because this has been a great show. I learned a lot. I'm sure our audience did. So thank you again. And if you can hang 1 second, we'll just do a little housekeeping.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Leave Nothing to Chance. If you want to know more about what it takes to succeed in the network marketing space, join us again next week for another amazing episode. For additional resources and to connect with John Solleder, visit leavingnothingtochance.com. Don't forget to leave a review. and we'll see you next time.